while. Pretty loud mix over there. 10:41 p.m. Eastern, Central Florida. Crystal clear night, but a little bit on the Moon and Saturn are coming through on this kind of air current, so we're getting that in between aperture, or not aperture, in between focus issues. But when it's sharp, gosh, tonight's looking amazing. Saturn is dead on. We'll go over there. Hopping in, say what's up to Genghis Khan. Astralis, what's happening? Welcome, welcome. Exactly, tonight is the Moonbrain mantras. Got Moonbrain, messed around, got Moonbrain. So let's wait for our friends to come in. This is an 83% moon. Let's triple check. Let me triple check here. 82.6% right now. Saturn rising with the moon right to the right of it, around the 2 o'clock position if you're looking outside. We got Fomalhaut, the star, which is bottom left, and then Jupiter coming up and following them along the trail in the southeast. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little bit of Jupiter tonight. Certainly a little bit of Saturn. Love seeing the Terminator cut across Mare Imbrium. We got a really good shot of Sinus Iridum tonight. I'm moving on through like we looked at Mare Imbrium last night. Copernicus, Eratosthenes, Kepler in view, and I think maybe we'll catch a little bit of Aristarchus coming into play. So yeah, last night's views were pretty sharp. I think we're going to get a few tonight, but we got to be patient with with the air currents. Talk about a little bit of consciousness, a little bit of electricity, but kind of just maybe vibing tonight. Feeling a little scratchy in the throat. I think I've just been singing a lot lately. So let's chill here for a bit. I'm going to keep going with the guitar jam stuff. That first one's called Chest, and this one's called The Visit. Some of you will remember these tracks. Evening, Hot Rod. What's going on?
sick of all the politics. Sick of your election talk. Tell me what the narrative. Tell me when to get off. Sick of if you wanna live. Kill us on holiday. You never know what's in the skies today. Oh, what's in the air? No, nothing you can see. No, nothing you can be. What's in the air today?
Alright, hopping in here. Say what's up to everybody just joining. I see NGC, great to see you. Hope you're doing awesome today. Thanks Hot Rod Scott, and Kimmy, and Astralis, and Genghis. I see Esoteric Gold. So yeah, it's a little bit like on the finicky tonight, like it was yesterday. The last few nights I've had the cold airstream, and the Moon and Saturn are conjoined tonight, really close. If you're looking at it just to the top right, that's Saturn. But when it does clear up, when it gets consistent, gosh, it's looking amazing. Look at this shot here of Sinus Iridum. One of my favorite features, and this is the perfect time to see it because you get the exact terminator just revealing it. Curtain up over Sinus Iridum, over sinusitis. Also, crater on the rim of larger crater. And then really crystal clear Mons Recti, Mons Tenerife, and Mons Pico. That's like the clearest I've seen it in a long time. Look at it. It's actually, what is it? It looks like VAIO at the end, or VAID. Jeez. Let's zoom in one level deeper here. It's crazy. Crazy. Of course it couldn't just be clear. It had to also be finicky, but let's look. Let's take guesses in the chat. Write out what you think these letters spell, because I think this is going to be a pretty good opportunity. Wow. It's going to settle in here in a moment. Let's see. It's like either I, 100. Is that 100? Let's see. Maybe I'll scribble on it. Scribbling is good. Alright, so maybe that's a 1 or an I. And then you got, that does have like 4 sides. I mean, we could say that that's like, maybe that's an O or a 0. You got a diamond. And then that looks like V, A, I. That's the closest I've really seen it. Let's get rid of that for a second. VAIO. Here we go. Right, Lawland. Is it Lawland? The evolution of Disneyland, Lawland. Do you see the X to the left of it too? It's pretty sweet. This thing, it's pretty crazy. We got Plato creeping up over here. Mons Tenerife. So yeah, just I'm waiting here for it to settle a little bit so we can get like a nice clear shot. I can even, let's zoom in a little bit more too. There we go. All right. Give it a moment here. I don't know, it could be 100 in the beginning. Now looking at it up close. Either way, still such a unique feature. Most people don't know about this. Like, such a few select people know that this actually exists on the moon. There we go. Look at that. That would be just an amazing sight to see if you're on the surface or just flying right overhead. Just a little bit closer. Alright, let's go with the tracks here. This one's called Grown to Like You. Coming up on 11 p.m. Oh, hell yeah, good to see you, Ellie. Hope you're feeling better today. Just thinking of you and you appeared. That's pretty awesome.
just a corner of your page. On top of the wave, I found the love, I found the sage. I'm coming to say, no, it is your fate. I feel so hot for you. I feel so caught up, it's true. Perfect slow take off with you. I feel slowly rocking you. I feel so hot for you. Rolling dark, you know it's true. You know it's true. Perfect slow take off with you. I've been torn apart we tumble in ecstasy. Don't you feel there's harm in us to kill? Until they know they're standing up police and shit. Say all day, won't you come back home? Up in your arms and take you far. But what might we take you for? What might it take you for? So hot for you. I've been so caught up, it's true. Perfect slow take off with you. I've been slowly rocking you. Oh, how waves the loves of the age. No story to save, just a corner of your page. On top of the wave, I found the love, I found the sage. I'm coming to say, no, it is your fate. So hard, it's so wrapped up, it's true, you know it's true. Perfect slow take off with you. I've been slowly rocking you.
Alright, hopping back in here. Just toying with the scope, trying to get a good shot here. Ellie, great to see you. I'm glad you're feeling better. That's amazing. Hope you even feel better after more better after this show. Let's see. Did we miss anybody coming in? If I did, let me know. Yeah, so I was zoomed in on a couple of regions. For some reason, Mons Recti looks like 100 Vade tonight. But, I don't know. It could be Lawland. It could be Lapland. It could be some other stuff, too. I don't have domain over it. And then right now we're just zoomed into Copernicus and Eratosthenes. That was also looking amazing, but again, not steady enough with the current airstream. Man, I can barely talk tonight. Certain nights I feel eloquent, others slovenly. Look at the trail of dots to the right. I'm not sure what you're referring to. The dots on the right of Copernicus. Let's see. Feeling a bit slow tonight. Let's keep going with the jams. So I think I want to check out Saturn for a moment here. We'll see if it has the same sort of... I think it does, actually, going in and out of focus, but I know that it was right on its side when I checked it in the beginning. So let's go check out a little bit of Kronos. Listen to some more jams here. Let me know if you have any song requests, my friends. What a cool... Also, it's 82.7% illuminated right now. So we're a few days out of full. It's crazy how it's passed so fast.
Space theater seemed no one weirder comes. Good Baron, the soul speaker, bring me back over telephone line, running amok in future time. My space theater seems no one lives here, and existence has no motives either. ask those outrageous questions. Don't try to forgive, locking those lips to break them apart. Time isn't open, sparkle and tricks to spark. Dying to forgive, eyes of the world, just let it go. Stuck in this orbit, stuck in this coiling, dying to break my heart anymore. Just float, face the stormy weather. Yeah, all I know is you better look out for me. When you float, you're falling like a feather, and everyone who knows you knows you knows you knows you knows you best. When you float, the storm is coming, baby, and everyone who knows you knows you knows you knows you knows you best. When you float, formidable opponent, angry crackpot, formidable opponent, dangerous lecture, formidable opponent, you can walk out, formidable opponent, think you had the choice. Formidable opponent, angry crackpot, formidable opponent, dangerous lecture, formidable opponent, you can walk out, formidable opponent, think you had the choice. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir, as soon as rescue, a hope remain. Left fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir, as soon as rescue, a hope remain. Left fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Float, the moon is calling, a souvenir, as soon as rescue, a hope remain. Left fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. slowly you got to feel the reaching and needing. So falling, breathing that fire, open your heart to the dream. Slowly rebound as it rages and hold on to end. So we can survive. Just float across the river. The cost of us delivered. Climb to original source. Only one walls of our place. Down from the rockets below. Oh no, it's one love undisclosed. Like the witches of the forest. Like I knew you once. Cause you'll make me excited. Take me home. But I need my soul. Time will break me. Let love come sink me home. Lean on this battle. Feed on the spiral. Lean on this bottle. Like you. Feed on this battle. Lean on the spiral. Like you were asking. So electric, so like you wanted to go. When you feel this deal, there's only up here. Till you do enough to shine what you want to be on the sun. Try to love some love and what you do won't make this deal that you always here. How you want to, the time to ride, how you say how you do. Like silhouettes we crash against the ways we got to. And climb the mountains high enough like how we do. Ooh, I saw you on the train. It's 9 o'clock. Deep down, I thought you were so indestructible. With perfect beauty underneath, I was driven to slightly smile and lie by your feet. Stability is rocking instability, zipping up interchangeably. Iteration upon iteration. I saw you past the shadow. It was 12 o'clock. Oh, baby, I don't know, but maybe we could steal a show. Don't need the art some sleep, float light like the armor. Float light inside his the armor. Try and hide, feel like you're an armor. Soul flies, night light, it's the armor. So feel like it's all back to zero. Faster, here we come again, into this world of the lost, till we came back to you. And if nothing else is true, I would love to sink through the depths with you. So feel like it's all back to zero. Sold at the bitter end. We scan and find features down at the village inn. A nightmare on Prince found you in Triangle Park. Dark subway in the bar on Houston. Yeah, on Houston. I don't wanna fall asleep no more. Just waiting for this train at Prince and Houston. Say I don't wanna follow shit no more. Just get me to the rain at Prince and Houston. I don't wanna fall asleep no more. Just waiting for a train at Prince and Houston. Say I don't wanna follow shit no more. Acquisitions sold at the bitter end. We scan and find features down at the village inn. A nightmare on Prince found you in Triangle Park. Dark subway in the bar on Houston. Yeah, on Houston. I don't wanna fall asleep no more. Just waiting for his train at Prince and Houston. Say, I don't wanna follow shit no more. Just get me to the rain at Prince and Houston. I don't wanna fall asleep no more.
Alright, those are a few songs in a row, some new stuff. And this one was an old one that I kind of fixed and added another part to. I want to hop in here and say what's up to Copper Tropicals. It's great to see you. Yo Q, what up, what up? Esoteric Gold, Hopinson, Ellie Wynn, everybody here. I know I already said hi, but just making sure. Making sure because my brain's a little fried today. Lots of streaming, lots of space, lots of studying. I saw your comment earlier, NGC, about looking at hexagons. I've been watching heaps of space news, all that stuff about scarring and hexagonal craters from like 4, 5, 6 years ago. Yeah, it's really fascinating, right? I looked at it. I actually have a slide. Let me see. I do have a slide that I put together with a ton of hexagons. Let's take a look. See if I can find it. I was like, I knew I did something tonight. Something a little different. So, yeah, this is a bunch of hexagons. Let's see. I'm still working on this, but you can see all these different hexagonal patterns. Top left, you got the bubbles, you got pineapples, you got sea urchins, snowflakes, basalt columning, our brain, Saturn's poles, sugar crystals, a leopard face, the structure of a hydrogen atom, convection on the sun, the cracking in the sand. And it's not just hexagons, of course, it's primitive geometry creating boundary layers along the lines of the fundamental geometry, the hop vibrations, the nested donuts, or the donut and the hourglass, or the column of a Birkeland filament outlining this hexagon, imprinting it upon all reality, because we're the tips of fibers. Anyway, that's what I was working on, and let's see, do I have another one? And you can see this hexagonal cross-section, or at least half a hexagon here with Sinus Iridum. Yeah, make sure you hit that 4K. It is not perfect in terms of focus if you're just joining, because we got the cold airstream tonight, so it's going in and out. But when it's sharp, it's some of the best footage we've got in a long time. I love this particular angle on sinus iridum, because you get the shimmering effect, the scintillation effect, but really that kind of glowing edge at the top left, and then the dark right with all that kind of crispy detail. Just phenomenal. Also, interestingly, this is something I noted yesterday, but how we have the nested kind of hexagons. Let me see if I can, let me see if I can scribble on this, but of course I can scribble on it. But maybe I haven't noticed this before, but let's see. You see this thing? You got that, and then you got that. And it's almost like, you know, what we're talking about, where it's nested hexagons. Same thing with Mare Imbrium over here, where you got, if we follow all the small mountain ranges and the full Mare Imbrium mountain range, you get these kind of double lobes. Interesting stuff. Clickety clack. Alright, let's keep going with the tunes here. I was just enjoying that. Need to sit back a little bit. Scribble, scribble. Some new stuff, some old stuff. What about... Yeah, I'll play a few. This is called the God Fractal.
till this dissolution. Where we coming? Where we going? Where we coming? Where we going? Where we no world in operation. No laws about discussion. No love from the permission. Most wise in opposition. Where we coming? Where we going? Where we coming? Feeling like I'm falling, twisted in these trials. I inseparable like motion and desire. All our scars have really faded, don't be tired. Just believe, soul is traveling. Just believe, soul is traveling. Past the pawns on the electric solar sphere, my descriptions of your life was near, and you were gone. I was reflected lines, and we were erased from time. No wheel as sweet as I. No way, just a leave. No way, soul endless, traveling. No way, traveling. Just believe, soul is traveling. Picked up another cause, got mountains across my hair. I know it just plays a part, we know it's supposed to end. We sleep with the name we call, send in the mother train. Got to believe it when I say that we've been here again. Got to believe it when I say that we've been here again. Bring me back, just bring me back out of the cold. Ooh, bring me back, just bring me back. I need you more. This cosmic revelation, we all have our bases to play. We creatures grinding against the grain. Built a world with nothing to fear but yourself. Apparitions that we bleed through. Every fear, your open wide soul modulation. You just come feel this ride so high, your love I'm craving, but I can't see it till you. Ooh, just bring me back. Oh, bring me back out of the cold.
All right. So that was much more difficult than it needed to be. I was right around the area, and it just wasn't coming into view. It's pretty high up there. It's like as far as my telescope can slew. But we got the red storm gracing us. And, you know, once it settles, we'll get a nicer view here. We still got Moon. We still got Saturn. I see a question in the chat. Just want to say what's up to Gnostic Chef and Conquer You. Ooh. And anyone else I missed? So, yeah, YoQ says, whoa. Wait, you can locate the Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter on any given day? Well, no clouds. Anything else? Well, no, it's actually pretty particular, this cycle. It happens occasionally, but to get Saturn, Jupiter, and the Moon in the same session is kind of, it's not rare, but it definitely has to coincide with certain events and certain cycles. So we're on a nice trajectory here to get Saturn, Jupiter, and the Moon getting closer. Like right tonight, Saturn is very close to the Moon, and Jupiter's kind of been doing its own thing for a while. But Saturn's actually getting a little bit lower on the ecliptic. The Moon is much lower. This whole cycle, the Moon has been much lower on the horizon. And Jupiter is way high up there doing its own thing. And they're all starting to converge towards December, that's what I was looking into. It's hard to remember every little detail on it, but like I totally forgot there was a lunar eclipse next month. So we'll try and get that. But I feel like there's Mars also coming up on the trail. This whole kind of procession of planets is... Now, as I'm saying it, I'm realizing that if I had a much larger field of view, then it would be a bit easier to capture the planets and the Moon on a given night. But for where if you're scoping from an urban area with trees and back porches and stuff like that, it's going to be much more difficult. So this is a particularly good alignment to get all three. What I will say is the last 5-6 years of doing scoping happened to coincide with a bunch of amazing events. Like the transit of Mercury across the sun was a particular one, which won't occur in my lifetime again. Venus being occulted by the Moon back in 2016 I think it was 2016. That was a super rare event. Probably won't see that again, especially capturing the Moon and Venus during the day, which is almost impossible when it's that hot in the morning. So a lot of amazing things have happened in the last few years. It must be synchronistic, of course. I don't take anything for granted. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. I never thought as a kid you'd be able to just like whip out the scope and see all the planets, especially with this kind of detail, right? When you realize how difficult it is to get a good shot of Jupiter, or a steady shot rather of Jupiter or Saturn, it's kind of crazy. All right. So I had a lot to talk about, but then I felt like maybe just do a tunes-heavy show tonight. Moonbrain mantras. If you have any thoughts on what I've been talking about, I kind of went back into Stellar Metamorphosis today and listening to a little bit of Thunderbolts Project, listening to Wal Thornhill, talk to Stuart Talbot, some of the space news stuff. And it's interesting, like, I'm finally at a point where when I listen to Thunderbolts, it's not just like, it doesn't overwhelm me, but I also start to see a lot of the things that they haven't talked about. And it's really good every single time now when I watch a Thunderbolts Project video. I feel like there's something lacking. And it's not because they're doing it on purpose, it's just that there's so many more things to talk about, and I feel like the fundamentals have been covered at this point. That's not to say that Buddy's video on the nested donut stuff doesn't cover a lot of new ground, so it does, but just thinking back a little bit, especially with like Markland convection, and if you start thinking about stellar metamorphosis, Thunderbolts Project is sort of not really discussing that at all, nor is really mainstream talking about the issues with protoplanetary disks, accretion disks, and the formation of planets and stars. So that's what I was reading up on today, amongst other things of nested hexagons. And what else was I looking up? I was looking up. I mean, you know, the usual suspects. Just thinking about consciousness. I watched Rupert Sheldrake talk to Mark Vernon for his 80th birthday. Shout outs to Rupert Sheldrake. Maybe one day he'll see one of these streams and know that. But he has a lot of followers. It's just one of those things where even Rupert Sheldrake, right, like has all the established fundamentals down, has been preaching this for about 40 years. But even Rupert is just like still kind of tiptoeing around this idea of like what I always talk about, or actually what I'm just regurgitating from Alan Watts. Actually, I'm going to stop saying that word. That's just such a gross word. What I'm kind of reframing and reintroducing from Alan Watts, which is this idea that we're God. And if you mix that with quantum mechanics, you realize that we're all an aperture of the God. And if you made your own body, that's the physical proof. Consciousness being based on interaction between self and field. And then we look at the planets and we can see ourselves in the planets and fractally recursive throughout the universe. So that concept is still a little bit like not really being talked about when Electric Universe is talked about or different cosmology is talked about. The real role of the human form in terms of geometry, the human soul in terms of consciousness, and kind of like interweaving multidisciplinary ideas like quantum mechanics and relativity. It's making me think about like when I was listening to Wal Thornhill talk about, what was it? He was talking to Stuart Talbot. They were just going back and forth a little bit about the James Webb and just about neutron stars. And a lot of the stuff was actually denouncing the current paradigm. You know, so it was 60% of the video was more or less saying the mainstream is completely wrong. And, you know, it's an interesting premise because there's so much more room to discuss ideas if we don't sit and point out all the issues with the current system. The current system maybe... Wait, let me see how I'm trying to frame this. I think it's more about if you want to introduce people to new ideas, we have to think about maybe augmenting old ideas versus completely trying to tell people of mainstream thinking that they're completely wrong, but also look at this new idea. So it's a more measured approach, and that doesn't really happen a lot. And it's actually difficult to do because people are kind of fundamentally tied to their beliefs anyway. But it was an interesting thing thinking about how I love Electric Universe and Thunderbolts Project, and I really respect Wal Thornhill. But then you listen to some of those interviews when you really grasp it, and you're like, wait, you're really not talking about this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. So, but maybe that's just me being where I'm at in the journey. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about today. I felt like, am I too negative about the system, or am I trying to move towards a more measured approach? That was the thought for today. Let's play some tunes here. What about... What did I have in the background? I had this chest going on in the background. Alright, maybe this one. Alright, Jupiter's a little bit fuzzy. We're losing the red storm, but maybe a couple of minutes we'll go back to the moon and Saturn. But pretty nice to see Jupes. Crossed over to midnight, 12:08. Gonna rock and roll for a little bit longer here. Oh, now you're sharp, huh? Now you got sharp.
Oh, hey, man, they got to you. Daddy here, daddy there, daddy boo. Oh, days on chill. Don't make me out so straight from there. Till my love be gone. No stranger at all. Live all. Stocky said, forever king. It's only things I was just Sometimes you get down on yourself. You've been living, you've been trying. Sometimes you get low on yourself, but you know you gotta keep on giving. Oh, you better keep on. Sometimes we get low, but you know you just gotta keep on trying. Oh, you gotta keep on. Sometimes we get low, but you know you just gotta keep on trying. You better keep on trying to love.
Oh wow, I didn't even see that one come up. All right, little behind the scenes demo. That one, what is that even? That's called Funk of You. Make funk of you. Yeah, so over here, did a little trip over to Saturn. I was just getting something to drink and letting the tunes play. What should we go into right now? I feel like the sky has steadied a little bit here. Definitely some really nice detail on Saturn. Tilted over to the right now. And pretty cool, I gotta say, like I was saying, going from Jupiter to Saturn, kind of amazing. Especially because they're both fairly big in the sky. So yeah, let's stay on Saturn for a little bit and then head back to Luna and check out what's going on, because if it's steadied, then we'll get some really amazing footage. Cheers, fam. Did I miss anybody in the chat? Let me know. Kimmy, I see you're heading out. Have a great night. Much love. Much love to all my friends here. Ellie, I'm glad you're feeling better. And GC, hope you had a nice birthday week. Welcome to all the new friends. I do appreciate comments, everybody, so leave me some comments on the next video, something I can talk about. Maybe check out some of the old shows and leave me some comments on those. And always check out Rupert Sheldrake and Eileen McCusick and Alan Watts for just really wholesome vibes. All right. I also want to say what's up to Morgan Ellis in the chat. Nice to see you, Morgan. All right, let's go for some tunage here. Dreamfields into Electric Blood into something else. And then back to Luna.
moon, they said I'm dead. Until you know my dream, as none of us will always be waiting for them to wake up eternally. Let's get pushing on up this ground. Let's get boundaries. My dreams are made of feel so tiny. Sleepless dreams. Ideals are made of dreams so high. My dreams are made of feel so tiny.
Alright, so back at the moon here, let me take a quick moment to just do this hexagon thing, because I know I'm going to regret it later if I don't. I showed you all the image that I have. Let's put this back up. Indulge me here with some hexagonal jibber jabber. But just because we're looking at this feature or these features constantly, and I'm always saying, like, look at the burbs. No, look at hexagons all over the moon. Mare Crisium, Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Nectar, Mare Imbrium, side-by-side mares, small craters on the rims of larger craters, large craters on the rims of mares. This kind of recursive fractal nature of geometry. And it's important because of all these, because we see it in nature and people tend to not have any idea as to why this occurs. And I think most people actually dismiss the importance of nested geometry. And so I'll just quickly make a little scribble on top of this where I can show you what each one of these images is roughly. Not roughly, but accurately, precisely. So bubbles in a sink, if you see bubbles, the idea, the mind kind of says, no, these are spheres or circles, but in fact, no, you have boundary geometry everywhere, and that's really important. We have, next to it is pineapples. Pineapple skin actually is this nested geometry, packed circles turning into diamonds. Then you have the back of a tortoise. Intricate geometry along a Birkeland filament, the symmetry of form. And you have honeycomb, sea urchin. You can see sea urchins forming tons of pentagons against hexagons, almost exactly what we see on the moon. Convection on the sun, same thing. I know these are really small, but the idea is really just what counts. Then you have basaltic columning. So in nature we have very perfect geometric columns. Then we have hexagons and snowflakes. All different types of snowflakes are hexagonal, and water we know outlines pretty much is such a fundamental molecule. And yeah, why wouldn't it outline the forms of nature, the fundamental form of nature? So these are bubble geometry. Then you can see over here hydrogen atoms splitting in different frequencies, different oscillations of the hydrogen atom. You get tons of nested geometry, side-by-side hexagons. Then the head of a leopard, side-by-side hexagons. Your own eye sockets are side-by-side nested geometries. Hexagon on Saturn, snowflakes under an electron microscope. If you look at the human brain, it actually is actually folded and actually is not completely circular. It's much more geometric. Electron microscope, sugar crystals, and on and on. So let's look at the moon for a moment, and you'll see that we have the same sort of thing, some alien language, but Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Crises, Proclus. There's your Hop vibration, or your torus, nested toruses. apple, butterfly, this balance that is struck. And so geology and anatomy and all nature at all scales, fractally recursive, seeing this nested geometry. And it's important because then by knowing it, then you know yourself. So that's just a little bit of thinking. Buried Axeblade, what's going on? Nice to see you, says, awkward day at work. Well, welcome, hang out with us. I see Cyber Sully, what's happening? How about you touch on the supposed temp of Jupiter raising in conjunction with the expansion of its diameter? I didn't read that, but if I just think about it from the perspective of the fields, then I think it makes sense, but I should probably read up more before I talk about it. I do imagine that Jupiter's fields affect Earth directly, as well as everything within its field. And Jupiter's field must be massive, given that it's probably like second to our sun in terms of power in the solar array, the solar cosmic array. I imagine also that like the conjunction that happened, this Jupiter opposition, definitely had some sort of impact on Earth. Everything coincided that week. But in specific, what you're talking about, I haven't actually seen that. And the Jupiter raising temperature and I think spectral analysis of planets and stars is one of those things that you're spurring me to think about. But I have wanted to talk about how we take, just the principle that people take agency science at their word in terms of what they're measuring and what exactly distances are or temperatures are of space and how accurate those can be. And there are all these different levels of that. There's this kind of understanding that somehow like these measurements of spectral lines in space or heat radiation in space or magnetic fields in space is accurate, given that we have these high level sensors to test everything. But I think thinking about what Pierre-Marie Robitaille, Sky Scholar, talked about in terms of the contamination of Earth's radiation in terms of the signal that we get from space is really like just never talked about in terms of how tons of measurements taken from Earth, from like even near Earth, would be contaminated by Earth's own field. And therefore things like thermal temperature, spectral lines, redshift, on and on and on, would be contaminated completely by Earth's radiation or magnetosphere. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about. I still would probably have to read what you're talking about. Miguel, what's going on? Ciao, nice to see you. It's been a while. I'm glad everybody's hanging out here. Sorry, y'all, I don't know, I feel like my voice is up and down just because I'm a little bit tired and a little bit fried. If I'm gonna be honest, I had a couple of drinks and I'm feeling good, but being accurate and focused about science at like whatever hour this is sometimes doesn't work out perfectly. But I'm definitely chilling with y'all. It's a good night. What even day is it at all anymore? All right, it's Thursday. So Cyber Sully says, all I recall is the temperature raised was stated to be 9,000 degrees. Okay, what else can I say about Jupiter? I mean, and Saturn. Like, if we go at it from the perspective of stellar metamorphosis, which is what I keep wanting to come back to, because when I watch Jeffrey's videos, I feel like, maybe just because I just found his stuff, but I feel like stellar metamorphosis answers this really, puts a big puzzle piece in the unification idea of the fact that how things are born and how things evolve over time or change over time. And putting the context of stars turning into planets, into moons, and then turning into debris, and then debris being absorbed by the stars is the same as people starting as a spark and then becoming a baby, then becoming an adult, and then turning into a calcified skeleton, and then returning to source as debris, is so perfectly synchronized, like perfectly holistic in the sense. And in fact, that's one of these things. Interestingly enough, Alan Watts really hit upon almost everything, but And he even touched upon panpsychism. He even talked about planets being conscious and stars being conscious, but I don't think he ever really considered stars actually evolving or turning into planets. And I think just that alone, the fact that even stating that concept feels really electric, feels really incredible to even say it out loud, because it's such a powerful concept if you really think about it. But yeah. Every moment is a spark. Indeed. So yeah, if we look at Jupiter from that perspective, Jupiter being a brown dwarf, which is now evolving and changing and complexifying its atmosphere and creating rains that are raining down on its core. The core is growing now, which would be the ultimate core of the continental plates that we're standing on now, or ultimately maybe the surface of the moon, if you want to imagine it like that. So Jupiter is now growing a core, and then when Jupiter maybe becomes like Saturn and it loses a huge layer of atmosphere and it loses axial inertial momentum spin, and it evolves over time, it'll change its refractive index, its color spectral, its spectral lines. It will change its rotation speed, and it's affecting its moons right now as a sun of its moons. Right, so all the moons like Ganymede and the ones that we see, Callisto, Ganymede, Io, and Europa, and then Amalthea, and about 70 other moons or so, all of these are looking at Jupiter almost like their sun, right? And Jupiter is within our sun's heliosphere. We have the ability to look at our universe in a fractally recursive way without adding any ad hoc or made up theorems or math to kind of make it to taint it in that way and make it too complex. But if you just look at our sun and the planets, and then you look at each planet and its small planets, and then you can see that actually every planet really does behave like an evolved star. It's somehow too easy, too good to be true, but in this case it's one of those things that actually jives. Our core's plasma. I think it's like at every core would be a Z-pinch, and a Z-pinch almost outlines the donut. And at the center, I would imagine it's kind of this oscillating flux. So if at the very smallest quantum level, we have energy just going in and out of the vacuum, I imagine that at the center of a star or a center of a planet, you have a similar process, but at a much larger magnitude. So it's behaving differently, which again is sometimes why I think about this denouncing all of contemporary ideas in one fell swoop and saying, well, because I like alternative theories of science, I'm going to say all Big Bang is wrong, all quantum mechanics is wrong. I'm not saying I've come around to that. I still really dislike mainstream presentation and propagandist language and obfuscation of plasma physics and all these ideas. But I will say that things like the Big Bang could be could fall within this kind of recursive fractal theory, right? There's kind of a reason that Big Bang was even proposed, and why a lot of people stick to it is because it's a phenomenon that could transpire in a bubble universe. Now, is there something before the Big Bang? Clearly, that's where quantum mechanics comes in, and you have to think about superstring theory and how, like, they say, well, many Big Bangs on membranes. And so if you take that further and you add if you add plasma physics to that, and double layers and the ether and electricity, then you have a more evolved alternative physics model. And we're just in the very kind of beginning, maybe, of the human race getting to that point where most people will see the connected universe and plasma physics as a much more reasonable, much more advanced form of physics. But I think we're still in really kind of science dark ages to some degree. But a lot more people in the last 5 years than 10 years ago when I was online, like nobody was talking about this stuff. And now a lot of people are talking about this. So people know about the geometry, people know about the connected universe, they know about relativistic framing, quantum mechanics, string theory. Lots of people who, like, I've never even heard of, just out of the woodwork, have been talking about it. And then the people who put together the puzzle pieces from Electric Universe principles in terms of the comets, in terms of recent history. It's a pretty fascinating time to be around to see kind of. It's also frustrating, but you know. Buried Axeblade says +1 on the Alan Watts Super Electric Philosopher. Yeah, well, for me, Alan Watts, like I said the other night, I will always, of course, he would have said, don't put me up on this, don't pedestalize me. But just for somebody who really back in the 50s had it sort of figured out in terms of the physics, in terms of the Zen, in terms of the presentation, not taking it too seriously, he really tried to live what he was talking about. So, yeah, just Alan Watts talking about just the concept of being the God, the one God that everybody thinks about, but by knowing, not just imagining that yourself is God, or not just saying it, or not just having an experience that relies on books or theories, but an experience by just accepting the self by virtue of recognizing the self. It's simply an instant moment of self-recognition, of samsara, and knowing that the self is completely implies the other, and other implies self. And this is something that everybody can do. That's why they have now everybody's meditating and everybody's doing yoga. But really, like, there is still this idea of, especially from people like, if anybody followed David Wilcock or some of the New Age Enlightenment people, where they said, well, you got to go and meditate for years and years and years to reach this elevated state. But in fact, you could just have that moment instantaneously by recognizing it. And so Alan Watts was also like, not only just somebody who could really teach, but he could also shock and surprise and make you laugh. And I think that's a really important thing. All right, let's play some tunes here and watch our moon. I think I was right. The skies have settled, so let's go check out Sinus Iridum again and Mons Recti and that cool little feature, Copernicus, Tycho, and Clavius. All right, tune.
On the edge of the shores of love. Say yes to the night, blur like the city. If your love was the only simple way. Oh, deep down in this jungle, deep down, sleep down in this jungle, dream down this summer. And we feel so long, no matter the deal, silent and watching, no friend, how you feel. All my life, from my depression, hold to life and all those simple needs. And what was life with no one so pretty? I hear you will soon find your sacred way. Oh, deep down in the slumber, deep down in this jungle, sleep down in this jungle. So I feel so long, no matter you feel, silent and watching, no friend, how you feel. Waiting for you at the end of time, waiting for you at the edge of the line, waiting for you at the edge of time, sing with you at the edge of line, also with you at the edge of time, watch for proof as a simplified magic, let's be the sunshine, listen to you with the dream of magic, I can do what I said on my time, waiting for you at the edge of the line, waiting for you at the end of time. Oh, deep down in the slumber, sleep down in the jungle, sleep down this so the words cut harder once side bombing mom and dad, those times ain't coming back. Hard to know just how to feel, and could they ever know peace? Maybe I'll just cut them slack, but they work so hard to relax, and when they get their bodies to the sea, I feel the end becomes me. With the end become the solution. Smiles, not confusion. My heart, I release you to the memory of this place. High, stellar far, so an analog.
So back here at the moon, wide shot. I don't think I even had the wide shot. I started off zoomed in, so first wide shot of the night. It's real steady, real nice. I think I'm going to start wrapping it up, y'all. I'm just going to go chill for a bit, sit on the porch, watch the beautiful rest of this moon procession tonight. But it was super fun. Great to see the family, as always. Shouting you all out and everybody catching this tomorrow. Like I said, it would be cool to see some comments and share the video, and also check out some of the playlists. Let me know what you think. Leave me some stuff to talk about, and have a wonderful rest of your night and day tomorrow. Let's see what we'll go out on tonight. What is it? Maybe something like... something with dream in the title, maybe. Alright, a couple more tracks here, but I appreciate you, and let me know if you have any last thoughts here. Again, Moonbrain mantras tonight, just thinking about where we are in everything, and loving that we can get together and talk about it still. I think that's the feeling today. Just grateful to still be able to do this after all these years, and to keep going and feeling like we're making a little bit of progress, even if it feels stressful sometimes. I see Michigan. Thank you. Peace unto you as well. Esoteric, Ellie Wynn. Glad you're feeling better, Ellie. Keep going. Esoteric Gold, NGC, have a beautiful day. Hope you get some scope time in. Miguel, nice to see you. You have a great night. Cyber Sully, Buried Axeblade. New Genghis Khan was here, and Charles Thomason, Yo Q. Mind blown tonight. So fun. No matter what, we got this. So, and Kimmy, of course. All right, y'all. That's it for me. A little sloppy tonight, but super fun. Dream me coming through, and say goodnight to our moon, Saturn, Jupiter, for another session through the stars. And lots of birds tonight, too. Sending grateful and blessed vibes to the space fam. This your captain is signing off.
I hold you up to the light you